Hey up everybody and welcome back. Well, first thing to mention is of course that this is Monday. You've only just got last week's video because of this thing with YouTube. I set to upload in the morning yesterday, Sunday, as per usual, and straight away I knew it wasn't going to work because the little thing at the bottom of the screen didn't come up to tell me how long it would take. Sure enough, it uploaded and then it just got starting to process. I left it a couple of hours, nothing was happening, so I just switched it off. I did a little search, put it in on the internet, and man, it came up with thread after thread with loads and loads of comments about this thing, and it was always, oh yeah, that happens to me, that happened to me. Some people said it taken days. There was no real information. One person said that it was that when YouTube was sort of overwhelmed with uploads, the processing they do at their end, they did the shorter videos first. Now, the last two videos where I've had this problem were both just over an hour. I mean, yesterday's was what, an hour and a minute and something seconds. So I wondered if it was that, but of course, well, I suppose it could be that if he's right. But like this morning, I set it going. It took 25 minutes to upload. I don't know, maybe 15 minutes to process, and then another 10 minutes while it was doing whatever it was doing. So 45 minutes, and it was all ready for me to post. So I don't know what the problem is. So what I'm going to do, so I'm doing the videos like this, I'll say I'm going to do this, but you won't know this until after I've done it. Because what I'm going to do is absolutely make sure that this video is under an hour, post it on Sunday morning as usual, and see what happens. Now of course you won't know until after I've posted it whether that works. So if that works, we'll just carry on. And if that doesn't work, what I might have to do is post it on Saturday, see if that's different, or I don't know, post it any day other than Sunday is probably what I'm going to say. I think Steam Shop mentioned something about you can set when it gets posted. You can upload it and give it a date and time to actually post. I could try doing that, but who knows. Anyway, sorry about that. Out of my control. So what else is happening? Nothing much. Weather's still dry. I was out riding yesterday. Had a good ride round. Did a few of the difficult bits. Screwed up a few of the easy bits, which is always annoying. Actually, I almost got stuck out in the woods because I've been doing a couple of bits and pieces with the greaser, and I'd taken the tank and that off. When I put it back on, I had one cable tie that I was using on the frame to hold the clutch cable as it came down the front of the frame, and the ignition wires. I forgot to put it back on. And about halfway around, when I was sort of right down at the other end of my land, I stopped to take a breather, and when I pulled the clutch in, it was so difficult. So I looked down to see what the problem was, and of course the clutch cable was touching the exhaust. It had melted off the outer black covering, but the cable sheath I use has the nylon inside it, so that of course had melted as well. So the clutch was... But fortunately, the ignition wires were in a little loop just at that point, and they hadn't touched, because if they'd have touched, then obviously it would have burnt through them. Bike would have stopped. I'd have to come all the way back here, get a couple of tools and go back and splice the wires. So the worst thing about that is the B40, of course, the routing of the cable doesn't come on the top of the engine like the B25 does. It goes in the back, and I found the easiest way to route it with a nice curve was to take it underneath the engine and up into that little hole on the back of the casing. So what I'm hoping I can do, if there's enough cable, is I'll just snip the nipple off, pull the outer off. I can get it the bit where it's melted and see if there's any nylon stuck to the inner cable, and then make up a new outer and just slide it down and then solder a new nipple on. We'll see if there's enough inner. Alright, so that's what's been going on. So I got a chain for this, and we're going to put the chain on, chain guard. I say the chain tensioner is already on. I do have a new rubber for it, but I think it needs a little bit of TLC to get it right. Do the chain tensioner and do the prop stand on this side. I want to sort of get everything finished, and then we'll rig up a temporary fuel supply, see if it'll start. Then we'll set to on building the tank, because the tank is going to be, I made a throttle cable. Well, I found a throttle cable that was just about right. I slightly modified the end, so that is on now, because the tank is going to have to come and drop down a little bit at the back, a la the Otter, because I don't have enough space to put a tap on both sides. So if I can only have a tap on one side, on the left hand side, then this right hand side has got to connect with it, so that I don't end up with a great swatch of petrol on this side that I can't get to the tap. So that being said, we'll get this lifted up and put the chain on. Now this work we're going to do should be relatively simple, because you know, this is a trials frame, but I don't know whether it's from damage in use or whether it was designed like this. But here, I think you can see it, this is for the chain guard to mount on, but that is somewhat in a bit and it's bent over this way. As I said, I don't know whether it's bent in terms of damage or whether it's meant to be bent this way to clear the tyre, because this swinging arm is very short. I mean, I shorten the ones on the BSA, but this tyre is almost touching the crosspiece with the tyre right back. So then, as I say, that one is bent this way. The one underneath here that has the chain tensioner on it is bent that way, and plus I've just noticed, yeah, the head of the bolt that holds the chain tensioner on is on this side. So I think I'm going to have to take the swinging arm out to take the chain tensioner off. How stupid is that? Then there's this brake pedal which mounts there. Look at that. I don't know how big Sammy Miller's feet are, but I normally make my footrest, my brake pedals 4 inches from the centre of the footrest. That's 6. I mean, you know, where's your boot? You're going to have to be on your heel almost to press this. So that really needs to come right back to here. Now, when I was at Mike Comer's the other day having my coffee, he has an Ossa 6-day model in from the 70s. And that has a cable to go to the back brake. And I noticed that what they'd done was it was mounted like that. Because normally, you know, you mount your cable on here and it doesn't give a lot of mechanical advantage. Or you've got to get it right back here, sort of thing. But they had this, but instead of it pointing up like that for use with a rod, it actually pointed forwards. And the cable went up there. So I might do that. I might just put it forward, put the cable that way, and then I'll get a bit more oomph on the pedal. But this blooming chain tensioner is annoying me, because it really does. It's been catching on the chain because it's bent. He may have been a good rider, He's a bit strange. Have you ever watched any of his videos now with his museum? And he talks about himself in the third person. Miller did this and Miller did that. It's very odd. Anyway, absolutely got to take the swinging arm out to do that. So let's look at the chain guard first. Well, let me put the chain on and we'll look at the chain guard. So I put the chain on, and this chain is right over the marks in the swinging arm here where the chain was touching. So it's exactly where it would have been in the original bike. And that thing, if that was straight, that's an inch away from the chain. So I think what I'm going to do is straighten it, and I'm going to make a piece to go on there that will be drilled and tapped, and we'll weld it on there, and the chain guard can just bolt to that. So that's that bit. Now we've got another tab on the swinging arm, but it's on the bottom. I'm done with it being on the top one. Again, why down there, I don't know. But look at this. I'm hoping I can show you if I shine my torch on it. That is, oh, it's so bloody stupid. Really is in a crap place. Chain's almost coming up and hitting this. I don't know, I don't know whether to move that, bring it further down here and put it on. So it's, because it's so far back there, it's right up against the chain. Here, the chain's worn away, the thing. As I said earlier, might have been a good rider, but to be honest, I don't think much of his design, or at least his, it might ride really nice, but his fitment of the little ancillary bits that go on the frame leaves a lot to be desired. Okay, more thinking. I've just realised what that little mount is for. I thought it was a spring to go to that somehow, but it isn't. This chain tensioner has got a little arm sticking out, and there was supposed to be a spring going from there to this end of the chain tensioner. The spring would have to be, I don't know, 2 inches long. How much spring pressure are you going to get in 2 inches? I mean, alright, you make it with thick wire, but honestly, okay. I'm still thinking. I've actually brought a chair over to sit and look and think. Alright, well I found actually in my little template drawer one which is almost spot on because it comes a long way down. So if I put that there, it's just short that end. Actually, I'll cut this a bit shorter here, but that is good. That gives me the dimensions for the bends and everything. So as I say, it just needs to be, I'll make it longer at this end, we'll be alright. Okay, so there it is with its first bit done. Goes down there, so as I say, I'll lengthen it there a bit. So what I want now is just to get this to clear the suspension unit a bit. So there's that on there. I've drilled a hole for the bottom, so I'm going to make a spacing piece which I'll thread so that bolts in. Here what I'm going to do is God, that's touching. I've got to bend this in more. It's touching the inside of that. But I couldn't quite fit this to do 2 right angle bends in the in the break there, so that will squeeze in a little bit. Anyway, what I was going to say is I'm going to weld a piece onto the back of this as well, which is tapped, because I can get a bolt in from the back. Well, with the mudguard on, I'm probably not going to be able to, am I? So it might be better to make a steel one and bronze it onto there, and I can get at that. Also, let me get this bent up a bit more and make one there out of alloy for that. Alright, so got that welded on there, so that now goes in there like thus. Probably doesn't need quite as long a bolt as that, but now we're clearing the chain, we're clearing the tyre, and we're actually clearing this tube as well. So all I have to do now is mark that there. Why did I decide I couldn't do it from the other side? I can get in from there. Yeah, that, you know, I mean, that makes it a lot easier. I just put a piece on there. I can get into it from there as well. Okay, but before I can do that, I have to go and have a cup of tea and a sausage and a bun. So I'll see you shortly. So, put a piece on the back. Up. This is going to be a little bit of a chew on to get this right. I don't think I've got this hole quite in the right place. It was difficult to mark it from this side. No, that's out. Shite. Half a hole out. Bugger. Well, that won't bend, so I'll have to drill it out a little bit. There, I just put myself a little bit of forward movement on this one. I wasn't far out, and that is now on there, good and tight. Gaps everywhere, there should be gaps. Chain will go up and down. And there should be plenty of space there for the movement. Alright. Not sure what I'm going to do with this stupid thing yet. I might move it. I might make a new one. I don't know, I've got to get it off. So I'll take the wheel out at least to get at the inside of that and cut the back of it off because it's rusted in. Now we can see what's what. So I think what we'll do is we'll go and look at the prop stand. So as I mentioned, the prop stand is the type that goes on a plate, not into a mountain. The noise in the background actually is the saw cutting a piece of this. What we're going to do is we're going to get a piece of 1 inch round. One inch of it we're going to turn down a
5/8. That will fit inside a piece of 3/4 tubing with 16th inch walls. This end, what we're going to do is about here is we're going to mill off a flat on either side, and then we're going to mill a slot in the center, and then we're going to drill a hole through there. That's just finished. Good. So this is the part that is fixed to the frame. This is the prop stand, so it pivots there, right? So first of all, I've just cut a piece of 1 inch round. I think 1 inch will be fine. So let me turn that down to 5/8, then we can put that in a collet block and do all this milling, and then hopefully that'll work. So there is step 1. That's our piece of 1 inch turned down, so it's a nice tight fit in a piece of 3/4 tubing, right? So now we're going to put that in a collet and make that. Alright, so it's time to mill a slot in this thing. The reason I've got you right back there is because I finally managed to find out. When I got the mill, I got the DRO with it, and in a box was this probe which actually plugs in. It's all Mitutoyo, and I've tried a couple of times using the instruction book to find out how to get it to work to get me the center point. So I spent a while today fiddling around, and I've got it. So we're going to use this to find the center point. That's why I made the nice little stand for it to go on. So because this is round, I'm going to use the sides of the jaws of, God, my brain stopped working. The jaws of the vise, because this is centered in the collet. The collet with flat sides, it's all machined, it's centered. So this is what you do. Oh, I'm going to have to fiddle around you. All right, so let me wind this over close. So it's switched on. So first of all, press that, and then I press the axis we're working in, which is Y, and then I press 0, and then I press load, and then I touch it off on this side, on one side, and it actually beeps. Actually, it's a very annoying beep. Right, and then I press hold on the axis, and then I wind it over and I touch off on the other side. Those of you with lathes and stuff with DROs are thinking, well, this is all simple stuff, but ages to work it out. You get to that, and it's while it's beeping, I press, see it's reading 15, press half and load. And then I wind this in there, look. When that gets to 0, out, put it in the little stand I made for it, seeing as I can use it now. I should have had this ready, shouldn't I? Got a line marked on the top of that. And that is exactly on the little middle line I marked on with just one of those things for finding the centre. So it works. Alright, so let me set up to do the milling. Right then, brand new 5/16 inch end mill, because it turned out I didn't have one. And we've got to go down 3/4 of an inch. So we'll touch off using the quill and then we'll use the knee. Zero. Very conservative with my cuts because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm taking 50th out of time and I want 750, so I'm going to bring you back when I'm about finished. Right, this is 750. Right, now we're going to put, I wonder if I should have made that bigger so I could put flats on it. I think what I'm going to do is put just a tiny flat on, drill it and tap one side so I can put a bolt in, and I might countersink it this side. Let me think about that. Right, I milled a flat on it, now I've got it out back in here, and of course this is all holding it nicely to the centre. So I've measured up to where the hole should be, hopefully. There's that. And this is the tapping size for 5/16 UNF. Go on, we'll use a bit of ankle lube, shall we? Might as well, as soon as I bought it. Even expensive bloody keyless chucks. Oh, for God's sake. Right, that's that. So now we want to go 5/16 through the top half. Right, let me get the tap out. And now we'll run a tap through it. Okay, let me clean that up and we'll go and try it. You know, the more I work on this, the less well thought out it is. Okay, I know this is bent back a little bit, but you can't get at that bolt really from out here. You can't get it from that side with the tyre in. You should be able to take the prop stand off without having to dismantle half the bike. And the other thing is, it's further from the centre of that hole to here than it is to the bottom. Which means that if you make that gap to fit that, when it swings round to there, it's not going to be touching this. Let me see what it... Oh, of course, don't have a measuring stick when I need one. Hold on. Right. See, from the centre of there to the bottom is a 1/2 inch, which is what I've made it. But from the centre of there to out there is 5/8. So when it's up here, you swing it round there, there's going to be an 1/8 of an inch gap between this face and the bottom of that, and that should be what it's up against. As the stop. Well, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to make it up to fit on nicely there, and I'm going to grind that away to let it swing up. That is so ridiculous. Anyway, the reason I did it on here, I haven't taken it out of here, was because I wanted to know that it was just a nice fit there, which it is. There'll be a coat of paint on that, so that'll be just a really good fit. Stupidity. So let me take it out of this collet. That doesn't line up. Damn it. That is definitely from the middle of that to there is a 1/2 inch. When I put that in there, I can see the 1/2 inch mark right in the centre of that hole. So I've got to get this lined up again. Oh, it's gone 5 o'clock, that can wait till tomorrow. We'll have to take more off it. Alright, see you tomorrow. Right, so with some shaping and a little bit of grinding, right, that fits, and this is exactly the right size. It's a 3/4 inch tubing. See, that'll just get bronzed on there. However, for all that fiddling around to get it on, I suddenly realise there's no mounting for a spring. Now, we can't have a spring here, of course, because this is going to come round here. The spring would have to be down there. And because this bike is so narrow, which sort of from a riding perspective is good, the swinging arm is narrow. I don't even know if there's barely enough space to put a spring on the back where it would have to be. So I'm going to have to look at that. I've got the door open because it's so hot today. Let me pull you back a bit. I've even been toying with the idea of putting a little tab on this and on there, and having a clip and another little tab down here, so that, you know, one of those spring clip things, so that normally it's like that. When you park, you pull that little clip out, put that down and stick the clip in there. I might do that. It's got to be the easiest way to do it. But anyway, that's on. So now what we're going to do is the other thing was, when I couldn't find a spring, I went online and pulled up pictures of Highboys, and out of all the photographs, there was only a couple had prop stands, and I think they were later additions because they were mounted here. You know, people had wanted prop stands on, I think, when they bought the bike and found they couldn't get one on there that worked properly. So again, Mr. Miller, you might have been an exceptional rider, but there's a few things on this frame which I don't see the reasoning behind it. But anyway, we were very kindly donated this frame and we will make something of it. So we're only going to do a little bit more because of our time experiment. So let's have a look. We'll move the bike, shuffle the bike over and lean it to the angle we want, and then we'll measure that. So that's about the angle we want. At least this time we're not welding it on and then finding we're at the wrong angle. When I cut this and put it on, if it's not right, I can just take it back off and shorten it accordingly. So let's see, what have we got here. That is going to want to be, I think straight will do it. I think we'll want the end kicked out a little bit, won't we? So what we'll do is we'll cut a piece 16 inches long, and then I'll put a little kick out at the bottom, and that way if it's too long I can just cut a little bit off the top until we get it to where we want it. So 16 inches, let me go and cut that. And where it is 16 inches, it's loose on that side. I don't like this type of prop stand. I don't like the way they pivot up just on a plate like that. That seems to be about right. That's up out of the way. That's that the strap on the other side isn't holding it. Yeah, I'll just put a foot on that. And we'll be alright. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that because I want to keep this video well under the hour for our uploading experiment. So all I'm going to do, as I say, is weld a foot on the bottom. And then I'm really leaning towards the idea of having 2 tabs on this, because there'd be one here to pop the spring pin in, but that would only be here. There'd be a lot hanging out, so I think I might put another one on there, so you pull it up, pop the spring pin in there. See, I don't really think we need another one. That is so far forward, I think see if you just knock this, it wouldn't fall off. So probably just one pin back here to hold it up out of the way. Anyway, I've got a week to think about it. We've still got to look at that chain tensioner. So, that will do for this week. And actually I've been doing some other stuff which you will see in a separate video, nothing to do with this bike. So yeah, I'm waffling now. See you next week, and until then, you stay safe and enjoy yourselves.